Let's pull up the pronouns. Well, you would think that the pronouns would be exactly the same in both languages, and basically are. But there is one difference. In Spanish, you is quite a bit different than you in English, and so I'm going to start off with a little story. It's a true story uh, about you, and then we'll use that as a way to. Then we'll come back to the subject pronouns. So the title of this story is I Never Used to Think About, quote, you. Before I went to live in Argentina, I never thought very much about you. Being a gringo growing up in the United States speaking English, you was you, and that's all there was to it. No matter who I talked to and wanted to say the word you, that is what I said. Then I was sent to Argentina as a missionary. As I learned a little bit of Spanish, I learned that there was more than one way to say you in Spanish. This lesson was brought home vividly in one conversation that I had with someone that I met in Argentina. As a missionary, I was instructed to talk to the people by using usted. This was meant to show respect to all the people that I would be talking to. But this caused a misunderstanding one time. I was 20 years old at the time. I was talking to a young lady that was about my same age. I said usted every time I needed to say the word you to her. She said usted to me whenever she needed to say you to me. And after a few minutes, I noticed that she switched to using the word, quote, tú when she needed to say the word you to me. I kept saying usted. After a few minutes of talking, all of a sudden I noticed that she seemed to be getting upset. I asked her what was wrong. She asked me why I would not tutear or use the word tú with her. All I could think of to reply was that usted was the word that I always use because I'd been instructed to do so. She explained to me that when I used usted with her, it made her feel like I was being very formal, that I was cold or aloof, that I was keeping an emotional distance from her, and that I did not want to be her friend. To me, you was you, and I never thought of it in any other way. But to her and for many other Spanish speakers, it is very important. There really are 6 different ways to say you in Spanish. These 6 ways will depend upon your situation and, in some cases, the location where you're speaking. Here is a brief summary of when you would use the 6 different words for you. Word number 1, tú. This form of you is used in most Spanish-speaking countries. It is used when you're talking to one other person. This person is perceived as being familiar. In other words, it would be someone that you know pretty well. It is often used when the person is your friend. Often it's used when the person is a relative. It's used when you're talking to someone younger than you. It's used when you're on a first name basis with the person that you're talking to. It would be used with your peers at school or various other places. Word number 2 for you, usted. This word for you can be abbreviated by using UD period or VD period. The usted form is used in all Spanish-speaking countries. It is used when you talk to one other person. This person is perceived as being formal. In other words, it would be someone that for some reason or other you would want to show special respect to. It's used when you're talking to someone that you've just met and you do not know this person very well. It's used when the person is obviously older than you as a sign of respect. It's used with anyone else that has a title also as a sign of respect. Like in English, it'd be Mr. or Mrs. or Sir or Ma'am or Doctor, Your Honor, etc. Somebody that has a title. Vos. This is a form that is used in Argentina and sometimes in some of the Central American countries. It's not used in Mexico very much or here in the United States very much. It's used when you're talking to one other person. This person is perceived as being familiar. It's used in the same situations as en tú mentioned above, except you're probably in Argentina or some Central American country. Vosotros is the 4th way to say you. This word is used only in Spain. It's used when you are saying you to two or more people. This would be equivalent of you all or all of you in English. These persons are perceived as being familiar. It is used in the same situations as in two mentioned above, except for the fact that you're talking to more than one person. In the group of two or more persons, at least one of the members of the group must be male. Vosotros, well, this is the fifth way that we could say you. And this word also is used only in Spain. It is used when you say you to two or more people. This would be equivalent of you all or all of you in English. These persons are perceived as being familiar. It's used in the same situations as in two mentioned above, except that you're talking to more than one person. In this group of two or more persons, all members of the group must be female. Finally, ustedes, another way, sixth way to use you. This word can be abbreviated by all using UDS period ustedes or VDS period ustedes. This word is used in all Spanish-speaking countries. This would be the equivalent of you all or all of you in English. And it is used whenever you're addressing a group of two or more persons. In all countries except Spain, the persons are perceived as either familiar or formal, doesn't matter. It is just you that is plural. In Spain, though, it would only be perceived that the persons are formal. In Spain, it would be used in the same situation as in usted, with just one person, except that you are talking to two or more people. Well, here are some situations, and let's have you decide which would be the most appropriate choice of the word you in Spanish. Should we use tú, or usted, or vosotros, or vosotras, or ustedes, or vos? A, you're standing in line at the airport. You start up a conversation with someone else in line. Well, which one would you use? Well, let's cheat. Let's scroll down. Since you do not know the person well at the airport, it would be best to use usted. Okay, let's go to B. You're talking to a 7-year-old little boy. Well, let's go look at B then. Since the boy is quite a bit younger than you, it would be appropriate to use tú. Let's go back to C. You're driving your car and you're pulled over by a policeman in Mexico. Well, if we get C, you definitely want to show respect. You use usted. If you talk to the policeman with tú, he may think that you're trying to be a smart aleck, and he may give you more tickets than what he was going to give you to begin with. Let's go back to D. You're talking with 3 girls that are in your class. They are all from Spain. So D. Since they are peers and they are from Spain, they're all girls, it would be appropriate to use vosotras. E. You're talking to Mr. Verdugo. Well, if we go to E, Mr. Verdugo has a title. That would be Mr. Since he has a title, we should show respect and use usted. Let's go to F. You're talking to a group of your friends in Chile, South America, group of friends. So we go to F. Since there's more than one person in the group, you should use ustedes. And not only Chile, but every other country, except for maybe Spain. G. You're talking to a classroom of kindergartners in El Salvador. Let's go to G. Since there's more than one person, you should use ustedes. Even though they're younger than you, we're going to use ustedes because there's more than one person. H. You're talking to your boss at work. Well, you should show respect to your boss and use usted. I. You're talking to your girlfriend from Argentina. Well, your girlfriend is from Argentina, so vos would be appropriate. Yeah, in Argentina, they use vos instead of tu a lot of the time. J. You're talking to cousin Jorge from Costa Rica. So let's find J. Well, Jorge is your cousin. You would use tu because you would be familiar with your cousin. K. You're talking to Alfredo, a co-worker in your store. So that was K. You should use tu with a co-worker who's with you because you're also on a first name basis with the person. So if you can call him Alfredo, then you probably should be using tu. He is a peer. L. You're talking with a group of older businessmen from Spain. L. Well, you should just show respect by using ustedes when you're talking with a group of older people, even if they're from Spain, especially if they're businessmen. Okay, we should use ustedes. M. You're talking with a group of teenagers from Spain. Some of them are boys. And you should use vosotros when talking with a group of young people from Spain, and at least one of the people in the group is male. N. You're talking to the governor of Sonora, Mexico. N. You should show respect because of his title, probably his age, and you would use usted. O. You're talking with one of your parents. Well, this one's kind of tricky and may vary from family to family. In some families, you would use the familiar tu in order to show friendship and family relationships. In other families, you would use usted as a show of respect to the patriarch or matriarch of the family and the fact that they're older than you. So this answer would depend upon a family preference. It could be either way. P. You're talking with your teacher. You should use usted as a show of respect for the title and maybe the age of your teacher. Q. You're talking to your boyfriend and he is from the Dominican Republic. Q. Well, you'd use tu with the boyfriend. Let's go R. You meet an 84-year-old lady from Honduras. R. You should use usted out of respect for her age. S. You're addressing the judge at court. You should use usted because the judge has a title, the title of judge. T. Which two words for you could you possibly use if you wanted to show respect to the person that you're talking to? You would use usted for one person that you're talking to, and you'd use ustedes for more than one person if there was a group of two or more. You. Which two words could you use if you wanted to give the message to the person that you want to be friends? You would use tu, or in Argentina, you'd use vos for one person, that you wanted to show friendship towards? V. Which two words are used only in Spain? Vosotros and vosotras are used only in Spain. W. Which word would you use in Argentina to show friendship and warmth? You would use vos in Argentina to show warmth and friendship. X. Which three words could be used only with one other person for you? Usted, tú is one person, usted is one person, and vos in Argentina are all used when you talk to just one person. Y. Which three words could be used only with groups of two or more people? Y. We could use ustedes and vosotros or vosotras in Spain are used in groups of two or more people. Finally, our last situation, which word would be the safest to use if you're not sure which word for you that you should use? Well, start out with, if you're not sure which word to use, start out with usted. It is the safest way to show respect first. Well, that's our little story with all the situations. Once again, for gringos, you is you, and it doesn't matter to us very much which word for you is used. But I made a young girl feel uncomfortable because she felt like I didn't want to be her friend when I used usted instead of tú. If I were to talk to a policeman who just pulled me over by using tú, he might feel offended and think I'm not giving him the respect that he deserves or wants. And he may throw the book at me. If I use tú with someone I've just met, the person might think I'm trying to be too friendly, too quick. You may not matter so much to a gringo, but it really does make a great deal of difference to a native Spanish speaker. Well, now, we've talked about the pronouns 5 ways. I told you in the story 6 ways. But that's because I brought in vos in Argentina. But normally, with the pronouns that there are, there's 5 ways to say you. Well, we're going to learn all of the pronouns. I'm going to have some numbers here with the numbering, and you're going to go, wow, that's a weird way to count. Well, you'll see in the next lesson why I am going to go that way. So, pronoun number 1, yo in Spanish would mean I in English. Pronoun number 2, tú in Spanish would mean you, familiar. You, someone that's my own age, a peer, someone a friend or a relative, someone younger than me. 3, the first number 3, él would mean he. The second number 3, ella would mean she. Number 3, usted is another way to say you. That's you that is formal. Someone older than you, someone that has a title, someone you want to show respect to, someone you don't know. 3, we have another 3. We have the word it, and you notice I have it in parentheses because we have it in English, but there is no subject pronoun for it in Spanish. But there is a way that we can say it, and I'll show you how to do that. And number 3, another number 3, I just have the word name. So if we had Juan or Susana or Maria or Margarita, if we have one name of one person, well, that would also be a number 3. Well, the reason I have so many 3s is because when we use the verbs, we use one verb conjugation or change for I, one for you that's familiar, and then the one that we have for all of these 3s, well, it would be the same one. And we're going to learn that in our next lesson. You'll notice also that on this side of the chart here, 1, 2, and 3, all of those words, they're all singular. We're just talking about one person. I is one person, you are one person, he, she, you that's formal, it, the name of one person, all of that is one person. And so on this side of our little chart, 1 through 3, it's all singular. Well, let's go to the other side of the chart because now we'll see 4 through 6 are all going to be plural, more than one person. Well, if we have I plus somebody else, that would be we. And so nosotros would be we. Notice it ends in an OS, so that means it would be masculine and plural or a mixed group. There's at least one member of the group that would be a boy. Our second number 4, we have nosotras, that ends in an AS. Well, that shows us that it would be feminine and plural. So it would be we, but there's only girls. So the members of the group of we they would all have to be girls. You got to remember, girls are special. They're going to have their own pronoun. If it's a mixed group or it's the boys, we'll just have nosotros. Number 5, we have vosotros, ends in an OS. We know that it's going to be plural. It's going to be masculine. It is you that is plural. It's masculine, but they use it in Spain. And that would be the equivalent of like tú, except, it's familiar, your friend or your relative, and you're all friends in that group. And that's what we'd use in Spain. Another number 5, that'd be vosotras. That would be you that is plural, more than one person. It ends in an AS, so it's going to be feminine. And again, it would be from Spain. Well, vosotros, except for it is important in Spain and all the rest of the countries, they're not going to use it. But I want to make sure that we can recognize it because a lot of the literature or the books that you'll ever seen written, were published in Spain. And so they might have vosotros there. So we at least need to recognize what it is. Although in speaking, we're not going to use it, much around here. Number 6, we have ellos. Okay, OS. It's going to be masculine and plural. That means they. It's either they that are boys or they that's a mixed group. We have another number 6. That's ellas. That ends with an AS. That would be feminine and plural. So they, but they're only girls in the group that we're saying they. Feminine. Girls are special. They have their own special pronoun. And finally, number 6, ustedes, which we could abbreviate UDS or even VDS. And that would be you that is plural. And in all the Spanish-speaking countries, they use ustedes to show more than one person in the group when you're saying you. And in Spain, they would use usted if it is you that is plural. Okay, you're showing respect, or you're talking to a group of people that have titles or they're older than you. Well, we've talked about the pronouns. Well, what I'd like you to do, I'd like you to write the equivalent of the Spanish subject pronoun for the following English pronouns. Let's do the first 2 together, and then we'll pause, and then I'll let you do the rest. So number 1, we have the word for he. Well, if you have to look back, we can go back and we find that he is él. Number 2, we have we, but I'm explaining that it's we that's feminine. So there's only girls in this group of we. If we look back, we can see that would be nosotras with an AS, we that's feminine. Well, I'm going to pause, and then let's have you do the rest of them. 3, 2, 1, pause. Okay, we're back. We have they that is feminine. Well, they, we can see, would be ellas with an AS, because that's they, those people, but it would all be girls. Let's go to number 4. You that is familiar. Well, that would be tú, one person. It. We don't have a word for it, but in Spanish, if we use the verb form that we would use for number 3, whether it's he or she or usted or a name of a person, that's that same word we use there. If we don't put any pronoun with it, then that would mean it is or it does whatever the action is. Number 6, you that's plural from Spain, that's familiar, that's masculine. Well, you plural from Spain, and it's masculine, it would be vosotros with the OS. 7, I is yo. 8, you that is formal would be usted. Number 9, she would be ella. Number 10, we, and I didn't specify it, so it could be we, anybody. That would be nosotros with the OS. 11, you that is plural would be ustedes. Number 12, they. We're not specifying anybody, so they would be ellos, which could be boys or a mixed group. Finally, you, that's plural, from Spain, feminine, it's familiar. Well, if we go there, you from Spain would be vosotras with the AS. Okay. And let's just do just 6 more. You are formal. Usted. She is. Let's just cut that off right here. Okay. That's bringing in something that I want to just do on next lesson. Well, at this point, we've talked about the subject pronouns. I guess the one big difference that we have between the subject pronouns in Spanish and in English is that they have 5 words, or if you count Argentina, 6 words for you. And so that makes it a little bit different. Well, hopefully you enjoyed the lesson. If you're interested in more Spanish lessons, go to Spanish Made Fun. It's one word, spelled with small letters, SpanishMadeFun.com. And there we can learn Spanish by using jokes or songs or videos from the internet or stories from famous authors in Spanish-speaking countries. Or I have culture, lots of cultural experiences. Well, hasta el próximo. See you the next time.